Okay, you can leave your binder up there because you're not doing anything before.
Oh, do you guys want to leave it up or you want us to turn it off? Okay, leave it on. We're good.
Okay, well, I don't see Kate's.
Wait, do you know where your dad went? He kind of.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's so good to see everyone here this afternoon, and we're so excited not only to welcome our friends who are here in person, but also those who are watching on Zoom. We open with words that, of course, seem most appropriate on a day like today. Hine ma tov u'ma how good and how pleasant indeed it is for us all to be together on this Shabbat. Hine ma tov u'ma shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine ma tov u'ma shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom. It is so great to be here. It is always great to celebrate Shabbat, but to celebrate Shabbat on a day that one of our kids becomes an adult in our community is that much more special. And it is an honor as Kate becomes a bat mitzvah here in the presence of this beautiful space with family and friends here and family and friends from afar, that we are able to welcome you as a bat mitzvah and to celebrate Shabbat together. If you are new to Temple Isaiah, I am Rabbi Miller. We have Cantor Korn and Daniel Lockhart, who is joining us on the piano today. As we settle ourselves in to our service, for those who are sitting in my presence here, just a few reminders. First of all, if you have a cell phone with you, even if you're at home, this is a great reminder too. I invite you to turn it off unless you're using it to join us here. And that we ask for you to refrain from using it today or from taking pictures throughout the service. There'll be plenty of opportunity afterwards. We also thank you all for wearing your masks today and ask that you please keep it on throughout the service. As you were told, you know that the bathrooms are just down the hall if you need to use them, and they all have assignments. And finally, for the safety of all of us that are in attendance, we will not be participating in communal singing today. We are excited to hear the voice of Kate, a beautiful voice that will be leading us in prayer and chanting Torah for us as well. And for all of us, we'll be able to hear her voice and Cantor's voice, but we can participate by clapping along as well. so we can be a part of this experience. And finally, there are going to be many times that we want to tell Kate that she is doing an amazing job of leading us in prayer, of teaching us Torah, of reading Torah, that instead of applauding, we actually have a tradition that she can see from near and far, because even those of you who are not here, she can see you as well, that we have a shul clap that looks like this. You can try it out, even if you're at home. Yes, I see all of your claps, that she can feel all of your love and support from near and far. And so with it, I invite all of you now, as we enter into this service, to take a deep breath in and let it out. Another breath in and out. It has taken a lot to get to this moment. We thought we were going to have the moment a few months ago, and now we have waited and we've continued to work hard to gather in this special way. But now it is that we are here in this moment, that we are able to welcome Kate as a bat mitzvah in our community. And with it, we now started out by having your parents to present to you with a talit, this prayer shawl. This prayer shawl, this talit, has on the four corners of it are the seat, which represent the knots and the twists and turns, represent the 613 commandments that are written within the Torah. And actually this week's Torah portion, the one read today, it actually gives us this commandment to wear it. And so as you receive your talit, you take on these mitzvot, these commandments, these responsibilities today, and every single time you put it on in the future, you'll be reminded of this moment. And so it is that I invite up Kenny and Janet and Kate as they present you with your talit.
Yes.
Okay. So leave the talit on the table till you're done talking. And
Okay.
go ahead and take the mic off your stand.
Kate, you are profoundly kind, empathic, emotionally intelligent, responsible, and deeply love your family. And when you set your mind to something, you get it done. When you were 5, you went to your cousin's bar mitzvah in Atlanta. It was your first time ever being in a temple. At the service, you were called to stand on the bima next to the Torah, and later at the party, you danced the night away, waving a giant glow stick over your head. So no one was that surprised when the next morning you announced that you wanted to have a bat mitzvah when you turned 13. Dad and I explained that having a bat mitzvah was not all Maroon 5 dancing and glow sticks. A bat mitzvah is an important milestone on a longer journey. It takes hard work, years spent learning a strange foreign language, attending temple several times a week, and being an active member of the Jewish community. We told you the decision was yours, but once you commit, you can't back out. You said, "I'm in." So we joined Temple Isaiah, and then 2 extraordinary things happened. First, you thrived. You thrived. For the past 3 years, you have looked forward to your twice-weekly Hebrew classes, learning, singing, and making good friends along the way.
And then you developed grit. You know, the resilience to face down obstacles and mistakes, learn from them, and improve. When you choose a tough challenge, like becoming a vegetarian because you love animals, you see it through. And while it's been a much different journey than we figured to reach this day, back in 2012, no one thought your bat mitzvah would be held outside the temple in pandemic masks dodging wildfire smoke while your grandparents, family, and friends tuned in via computers. But through it all, you have persevered, thanks to your grit and resilience. Kate, you are well on your way to adulthood and have had to learn an important lesson. Often, life doesn't unfold the way we plan. And when that happens, your perseverance, family, friends, and temple community will help you clear a path. So, surrounded by all of us, and probably some Zoom employees, Chinese government officials, and a few online bots, we share these prayers we have for you. May your kindness, empathy, and inclusive spirit continue to bless all those you come in contact with. May your courage and actions continue to support social justice and righteousness for humans and animals. And may your resilience give you the strength to dream big and realize those dreams. We love you and are so proud of you. Mazel tov.
Janet, will you grab the microphone so she can?
Okay, you're going to hold the telly.
Yeah, I know.
There you
Okay.
go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehit atef b'tzitzit.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
You can give her a hug. We thank you, God, for bringing us to this moment, this time of transition, as Kate goes from being a child in our community to being that responsible adult. We continue now with the chanting of Chatzi Kaddish.
I start. Yikadal ve'yikadash Shemei Rabba V'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich mahutei Uvyom echon, uvyahei tizkol beit Yisrael Ba'agala uvritzman karim Beimeru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba mevorach Le'olam u'lamei omaya Yitzbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitraman ve'yitnaseh Ve'yitadar ve'yitalen ve'yitalal Shemei dekudesha barechu Le'olam mirchata v'ashirata Tushvechata v'nechemata Damiran v'amal ve'imeru Amen.
We continue with Baruch Hu, the call to worship. If you are able, I invite you to please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai
tradition that as we prepare to sing the words of Shema, the prayer that reminds us of the oneness of God, our connection to God, we take the tzitzit from the four corners of our talit, bringing them together in our hands. The tzitzit remind us that there are many different ways that we can connect to God. We can connect to God in moments like this of prayer, but also in how we choose to act in the world. We bring the tzitzit, our talit, up to our eyes, or take our hands to cover our eyes as we hear the singing of Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated as we continue with the chanting of the Ahafta.
אהבת את אדוני אלוהיך
בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות
על ידך
והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם בכל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
Every day we are to remember the moments when we as a Jewish people were taken out of Egypt, taken out of slavery and brought to the promised land. God reached out to us with God's outstretched arms, and we look at that as a reminder for our responsibility. Now that we are able to live in freedom, it is our responsibility to look out into the world to see how we can make it a better place, to offer our own ways of going and helping others. We are reminded of that commitment, that responsibility, when we hear the words Micha Mocha, the song that the Israelites sang as they crossed the Red Sea and began their journey to the Promised Land. For those able, we rise together for the Amidah, beginning with the words of Avot V'Imahot, reminding us of our connection to our ancestors long ago that continues on until today.
Adonai sefatai tita ufia gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevii geula livnei bneihem, Le'man shemo ve'ahava, Melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol ata, Rav lehoshia, Morid hatal. Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, U'matir asurim, U'mekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha b'gevurot, U'mido melech, Melech memit u'mechayeh, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Mekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shamakdishim oto b'shmei marom, Kachatuv al yad neviecha, V'kara ze'ezeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Eloh kol haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Madir Shimcha bechol haaretz, Baruch kevod Adonai mikol. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, vehu Yashmeinu, v'rachamav le'nei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Tzion, ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid golecha, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם. Shabbat Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
We take a few moments now for our own silent prayers. You can use this time to look within your own heart, your own soul, for the words, the reflections, the prayers that you have on this Shabbat day. When you are done, you may be seated.
We now offer this prayer for peace, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imeru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Mimromav, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imeru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. We arrive now at really what I think is the pinnacle of our service, which is our Torah service. The moment that we will take the Torah scroll out of our ark, and eventually it will land in Kate's arms as the next link in the chain of the generations of the Jewish people. Kate has worked incredibly hard, not only mastering Hebrew, but mastering the chanting of the Hebrew and reading it from the Torah, in which the Hebrew is written in its most ancient form. So I first would like to invite up the generations of Kate's family that are going to participate in the ritual of passing the Torah. And you'll line up from the ark to the bima. Harriet Spitz, Dan Widman, Janet, Kenny, and of course, Kate. So Harriet, I'm going to have you stand right next to the ark, but don't take the Torah out just yet. And I'm going to have everyone turn and face me for just a moment. Kate, you know what's about to happen. You've seen it before, you've seen your friends go through it, and yet it takes on a brand new meaning today. Because today we're going to be placing the Torah in your arms. And I love the story that your mom told of when you were so young and you were at that bar mitzvah and you said, that's going to be me. And guess what? Here we are. And it is not coincidence that we are here. It is not coincidence that Torah has survived for generations and generations in your family. It was done with great intention and great love for our tradition. It was done in such a way that Torah would reach you today, as if they knew this was coming for generations in your family. And of course, this comes with some responsibility. You know, because you've held the Torah, that the Torah is a little bit heavy. And so is a little bit of the responsibility we're putting on you, because we are looking to you, the next generation, frankly, to be that generation that can fix a lot of the mistakes that those generations before you have made. All throughout our world, we live in what we say sometimes is a broken world, but we engage in tikkun olam, repairing this world. And that is what's so amazing about this moment. As you take on Torah, it's not just the acquisition of knowledge, it's the deep understanding of your responsibility as the next generation, the next link in the chain of those who have taken Torah on for themselves. So of course it is with great pride and joy that we do this, but also great expectation that the Torah will not end here, that it will indeed be passed from generation and generation for so many years to come. So Harriet, I'll invite you now to open the ark and to take the Torah out, and we will pass it through the
I
generations.
invite everyone to please rise.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. Ledor vador nagid kol lecha. Door by door, we protect this chain from generation to generation. And door by door, these lips will praise your name. And now we invite Kate to lead us in the Shema in the Torah service. Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shema.
And Kate, now I'll invite you and your parents to undress the Torah. We'll move the binder to the side and prepare for our Torah reading. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachanu behar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachanu behar kodsho. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachanu behar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachanu behar kodsho. Please be seated.
So Kate is going to be reading the Torah portion that she was originally assigned for the day that she was going to become a bat mitzvah in April. And we know that she works so hard, and the lessons of Torah, doesn't matter if it's April or if it is August. They are always important lessons for us to learn. So we are actually going to be hearing from the book of Leviticus and Parshat Shemini. Now the book of Leviticus teaches us about how to be holy people. How are we to be holy people in this world that we have choices that we can make in order to think about our actions. And this holiness helps us to create community and can also help us to become closer to God through some of our actions that we do. And so Kate will be reading from the book of Leviticus. I'll be providing a translation if for some reason at home that you're following along in a Torah. She'll be starting at chapter 9, verse 1 in the book of Leviticus. But as I said, I'll be providing a translation so you can understand the words in which she is reading and teaching us from today.
We have people offering words of blessing now from all over the country. And we're going to start with Kate's grandparents, Roger and Judy Widman. We're going to spotlight them up on the screen. And they're going to offer the first aliyah. So let's wait until they're up there. There they are. So we'll invite you now to pronounce the words of the blessing before the Torah reading. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Amen.
Amen. Vayehi bayom hashmini kara Moshe le'aharon ulbanav ulziknei Yisrael vayomer el aharon kach lecha egel ben bakar le'atat ve'ai le'ola tamimim ve'hakrev livnei Adonai ve'el bnei Yisrael terdaber lemum kehu se'ir izim le'hatat ve'egel Lahebes b'nei shana tamimim le'olam.
On the 8th day, Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. He said to Aaron, "Take a calf of the herd for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering, without blemish, and bring them before Adonai. And speak to the Israelites, saying, Take a he-goat for a sin offering, a calf and a lamb, yearlings without blemish, for a burnt offering."
And now we'll wait till we get Roger and Judy back on our screen. There they are. And you'll pronounce the blessing after the Torah. Amen. Mazel tov to you both.
Thank you.
And now we're going to spotlight now Kate's other grandparents, Sandy and Jim Donaldson. Sandy and Jim Donaldson. We'll highlight them in our Zoom call. There they are. And we will ask them to pronounce also words of blessing.
May you live to see your wall fulfilled. May your destiny be for all still to come. And may you trust in generations past and yet to be. May your heart be filled with intuition. May your words be rich in understanding. May songs of praise ever be upon your tongue. May your vision clarify a straight path before you. May your eyes shine with the light of Torah, and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips ever speak wisdom, and your fulfillment be in righteousness, even as you ever yearn to hear the words from the holiness.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of our service today. For the second Aliyah, we now call on Kate's aunt, Emily McBurney, and cousin Liz McBurney. So we will wait until we see them on our screen as well. And we'll invite you now to pronounce words of blessing. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed. Amen.
Amen. Veshova ayr lishlamim. Lisboach lifnei Adonai. Umenincha belula. Bashamen ki hayom Adonai nira alehem. Vayikru et asher tzivah Moshe el penei ohel moed vayakrevu ol hal edah vaya'amedu lifnei Adonai.
And an ox and a ram for an offering of well-being to sacrifice before Adonai, and a meal offering with oil mixed in. For today Adonai will appear to you. They brought to the front of the tent of meeting the things that Moses had commanded, and the whole community came forward and stood before Adonai.
Emily and Liz will invite you now to pronounce the blessing after the Torah reading. Amen. Yasher Koach and Mazal Tov, thank you for joining us this morning. For the next Aliyah, live IRL, as they say, in real life, we call on Janet and Kenny. Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah la'torah.
Go ahead and go up.
Pass your dad one of the phones. Oh, yeah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You have enlightened this path with the wisdom of Torah, giving it to the Jewish people as their particular way. Blessed are you, merciful One, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people.
We'll stay up there.
Stay up there.
Amen. Vayomer Moshe, Zei הדבר אשר ציווה אדוני תעשו וירא עליהם כבוד אדוני ויאמר משה אל אהרון קרב אל המזבח ועשה את חטאתך ואת עולתך והפל בחדם ובעד העם ועשה את קורבן העם והפל בהדם כאשר ציווה אדוני.
Moses said, "This is what Adonai has commanded that you do, that the presence of Adonai may appear to you." Then Moses said to Aaron, "Come forward to the altar and sacrifice your sin offering and your burnt offering. Make expiation for yourself and for the people, and sacrifice the people's offering and make expiation for them as Adonai has commanded."
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Me first, Jackie. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. This Torah is a teaching of truth, whole and balanced, and from it comes eternal life for the people who embrace it. Blessed are you, merciful One, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people.
Amen.
Amen.
You guys stay up. And now for the fourth aliyah, we call Kate for the very first time as a bat mitzvah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborah Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'neitan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayikra Aharon el hamizbeach vayishat et egel hahatat asher lo vayakrivu bnei Aharon et hadam elav vayitbol etzba'o badam Vayite el kanot hamizbeach ואת הדם יצק אל יסוד המזבח.
Aaron came forward to the altar and slaughtered his calf of sin offering. Aaron's sons brought the blood to him. He dipped his fingers in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar, and he poured out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet vayehei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov, Kate. It was beautiful. You have such a beautiful voice. And if you're listening really carefully, you can tell she had an Israeli bat mitzvah tutor because she picked up a little bit of that Israeli accent. Her reishas are very Israeli. So you got a good ear, Kate.
As our Torah is out, we also take this time to think of people within our community, our family and friends who need a prayer of healing. We think especially within our world today of those who are suffering from COVID-19 and from those who are their caretakers. And we think within Kate's family of Marty Spitz and Ruth Silman. We sing the words or hear the words of Misha Baruch offering this blessing of healing to all of them as they go on their path towards Refuah Shlema, towards a wholeness.
And now we will invite Kate and her parents to dress our Torah, and we return it to the Ark. It's time here, Lama Chazikim Ba, Vetom Acheha, Me'ushar, Ashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu In addition to Kate leading us in prayer and chanting so beautifully from the Torah, she's now also going to share a message from this week's Torah portion, something that really spoke to her in her studies, as well as sharing with us a mitzvah project, a way she has incorporated doing tikkun olam in the world.
The book of Leviticus is filled with laws on how to bring holiness into our lives and bond as a Jewish community. The Torah portion I read today, called Shmini, talks about dietary restrictions. It gives a list of what the Israelites could and could not eat. For example, they were told not to eat water animals that crawl on the ground, like snakes, birds of prey, and animals that had died on their own. These became some of the basic laws of kashrut, Jewish dietary laws. This Torah portion is perfect for me, not because I keep kosher, but because I have taken much time to think about the food I choose to eat. I used to eat meat a lot. Let's face it, I love the taste of meat. However, I started to feel badly about it. Why should a living being die for my lunch when I could be eating something else? So 3 years ago, I decided to stop eating meat. By denying myself the pleasure of eating stuff I loved, like hamburgers and steak and chicken nuggets, fewer animals would be killed and I would be able to make a small difference in the world. My Torah portion teaches us that we need to be thoughtful about what we choose to eat. By following the rules of kashrut, we help make everyday acts more special and sacred. The rules listed in the Torah were created in ancient times. I believe that being a vegetarian, vegan, or pescatarian is a modern way of keeping kashrut. Being a vegetarian helps the environment. Scientists say that if we reduce the amount of animals in our diet, we can change the direction of climate change. Eating less meat cuts the amount of greenhouse gas emissions and saves water and land. A plant-based diet requires half as much land to grow food than is needed to raise cattle or other animals. Being a vegetarian is also healthier. Dietitians explain that eating more plants is better for your growth and long-term health. I had to start being more thoughtful about what I was choosing to eat. I had to plan ahead. Every summer, except unfortunately this year, I go to a sleepaway camp in New York's Adirondack Mountains. We usually make s'mores at camp, and it turns out marshmallows have gelatin in them that comes from animals. Who knew? In fact, most gummy candies contain gelatin. So I adapted and started bringing my own bag of vegan marshmallows to camp. Sure, it's a little weird, but it's worth it. Our choices affect the environment, our health, and, of course, animals. You don't have to go to the extremes. You don't have to be vegetarian at all, but you can't just consume food. You should be mindful about what you eat. As I prepared for this day, I also carried my love and concern for animals into my mitzvah project. I trained with the Contra Costa Humane Society to help care for their rescued animals. I volunteered a few times and had hoped to continue weekly work, but unfortunately they had to cancel volunteer services due to the coronavirus. I hope to continue volunteering again when it's possible. Starting with my family's first dog, Nutmeg, I have always loved animals, and this Torah portion reminds us to care and respect them. I chose to take on that responsibility by becoming a pescatarian. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And so, Kate, you can even close up your binder and just put it there and face me as you've done it. Here you are. You stand at this moment, and you've become a bat mitzvah. You have led us in prayer today. You have led us, you sang beautifully your Torah, and you've taught us Torah as well. I hope you're proud of yourself. You have accomplished a lot, and as you've heard already, it took a lot for you to get to this moment. And it came from you, and it came from a choice that you made. Your parents never told you you had to do this. You chose it. They never told you that you had to be vegetarian. You chose it. Being Jewish and being a Jewish adult is about thinking about our choices, right? Our everyday choices, which is exactly what your Torah portion taught you. It's about looking at the world and thinking, how can you give the best? How can you make this everyday action into a meaningful action? Earlier this year, right actually just a few weeks before we all had to move into shelter in place, we were in Los Angeles together. We were running around Disneyland together. Who could ever think about being at Disneyland right now? But in the crowds and going around, there were a few moments of that day where we just had to sit in these long lines. And what I watched you do in that time was about making the choice about connecting with others. It wasn't just about going on that ride, but it was about building community. It was about making friends. And so now as you become a bat mitzvah and you go into this next phase of your life, you have another choice. Well, I'm not really giving you a choice, but I know you're going to take the choice, the right choice, of continuing on with that community that you had fun with in Disneyland, but that community that in just a few weeks will be back in this garden celebrating Rosh Hashanah together. And a few weeks after that, we'll be back every other week with Noar Night, coming together to continue that education. Because what I've seen from you since that moment you chose to become a bat mitzvah, to come here and to begin your studies, I've seen that willingness, that drive, that curiosity, that kindness and love that I look forward to seeing as you continue that next step. Because we're going to have fun together, and we're going to work together to repair this world together. Because we need people like you, people who care, people who are serious about their convictions and actually follow through with their actions. Because that is what you've shown us you can already do. And that, as you become an adult, is what you're going to continue to encourage the rest of us to do. And so I invite up your parents. And Cantor Corn, as we give you, come on up, and you're going to stand right behind Kate. At this moment where you take this next step forward, you take this next step on this journey that you have chosen for yourself, that we are going to give you the priestly benediction, this blessing that takes you on with love and support and encouragement onto this next part of your journey. And you can turn just a little bit so you can see the cantor from that side as well.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May God bless you and keep you.
יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך.
May God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך Shalom.
May God's presence always shine on you, in you, and through all the wonderful things that you will do. And may God grant you, your family, the community that surrounds you today, and the whole world with the most precious gift, the gift of wholeness, the gift of peace. And let us all say together, Amen.
Amen.
And so as you make your way back to your seats, I invite everyone, if you're able, to please rise as we continue with Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts now turn to our loved ones who are no longer with us. We keep them in our hearts as together we recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalman divrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayet dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam ulamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Dam iran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav. Uya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, huya ase shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. One last time, we'll ask Kate and her parents to join us on the bima. And we're going to offer our last words of blessing. We say Siman Tov and Mazel Tov. May it be a wonderful day, and what an amazing simcha this is for your family, but also for the entire Jewish community and the entire Jewish people. Kate, another young person has said, I'm ready. And that's a really big deal for all of the Jewish people. And so we are incredibly grateful for your commitment. And we offer these words to you. Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Yahelanu, 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 Ulecho Yisrael, Yahelanu, Yahelanu, Ulecho Yisrael, Yahelanu, Yahelanu, Ulecho Yisrael, Yahelanu, Yahelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Once again, thank you for everyone in attendance and everyone who joined us in our virtual sanctuary on Zoom. It was certainly a blessing to have everyone here today. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. You can come out and be there.
I've got your binder.
Mazel tov. Yeah, didn't she do such a great job?
Mute your microphone.